Conference. The Virginia Cavaliers, ranked number 7 in the country, on the road in Tallahassee to take on 16th ranked Florida State. It's the biggest game of the year in conference so far because these are the top 2 teams in league play with less than a month to go. It's Virginia alone at the top with just 1 conference loss. They're 11-1. Florida State, Leonard Hamilton, 7-2 as he chats with Tony Bennett, 2 of the best coaches in the country in this matchup tonight as well. Hi everybody, welcome. Sean McDonough along with Jay Billis. I'm broadcasting from ESPN studios in Charlotte. Jay from home tonight due to COVID protocols. And Jay, no matter where we are, we're going to look at a classic matchup of the highest scoring team in the conference, Florida State, averaging 79 points per game, against the Virginia team, as usual, leading the ACC in scoring defense. But this year, the Cavs can score as well, particularly from the front court.
Yeah, the front court is where the strength of this Virginia team is, Sean. And with Sam Hauser transferred in from Marquette, Jay Huff, and Trey Murphy, they have made over 100 threes among that trio, and they can stretch you, they can separate from their defenders, they pull the opposing big guys away from the basket. But Florida State is also very good defensively. They are long-armed, they are versatile, and they can switch just about every screen and exchange and make it difficult and force that trio from Virginia to put the ball on the deck. It's going to be about tempo. It's going to be a slow tempo to Virginia's liking, but Florida State wants to speed them up with their defense.
About 2,800 fans in attendance inside the Tucker Center in Tallahassee, where Florida State has won 23 in a row. Ron Groover, one of the officials, with John Gaffney and Jeffrey Anderson, and they're underway. Rayquan Gray in possession. He's part of the starting backcourt with M.J. Walker. Wyatt Wilkes, the three-point specialist. Rayquan Gray, the hero of their win against Wake Forest on Saturday. Malik Osborne starting for the 2nd straight game. The deep Florida State team. And the first shot of the game missed by Malik Osborne. Kihei Clark runs the show for Virginia with the freshman Reese Beekman in the backcourt with him. Trey Murphy, Sam Hauser, Jay Huff, that terrific front court that Jay Billis was just talking about.
And when Kihei Clark penetrates into the lane, one thing you really can't do is help too much off of Jay Huff, which Malik Osborne did right there, because you're going to get put into rotation. Make Kihei Clark finish that tough 2 instead of giving him an open 3.
Good defense by Wyatt Wilkes on the perimeter. And he fires a 3 in transition that's off the mark. And here's Kihei Clark, the junior from Woodland Hills, California.
Well, you shoot the ball quickly against Virginia. That means you're going to play defense for 25 seconds on the other end, because Virginia uses the clock more than any other team in the country.
Excellent extra pass leads to an open 3 in the first bucket of the game for Trey Murphy, junior from Durham, North Carolina, averaging 11.5 per game. And as you see, and as you saw on the graphic at the top of the telecast, terrific three-point shooter, 49% for the year.
Yeah, that's his 40th 3, Sean. That's 8th in the ACC.
M.J. Walker the miss, but there to dunk it was Malik Osborne. Starting for the 2nd straight game because Balsha Koprivica ordinarily starts, the 7-footer. Hurt his ankle a couple of days ago. They think he might be able to play tonight. He did not play Saturday in their overtime home win against Wake Forest. Sam Hauser, what a year he's having. Player of the Year candidate in the conference. Another 3 for UVA, and they're off to a 6-2 start.
And Florida State's going to have to adjust there. There should never be 2 guys that come to Kihei Clark when he drives into the lane, drives to the basket. He does not shoot a high percentage over length, and you're giving up an open 3 when you send 2 defenders at him.
Strong drive by Rayquan Gray, but Sam Hauser defended him all the way. Virginia's won 4 in a row with 11 out of 12, 15-3 overall. They moved up 2 spots in the poll just out today. The AP, 9th last week to 7th this week. And a Virginia turnover for Tony Bennett. You see the towel on the shoulder. That's a tribute to the late great Georgetown coach, Hall of Famer John Thompson. Leonard Hamilton the same. The NABC, National Association of Basketball Coaches, asking the coaches to do that. We talked to Tony Bennett about that this morning. He was happy to oblige. He has tremendous respect, as does Leonard Hamilton, for all that Coach Thompson meant to the game.
Well, John Thompson Jr. was a giant in basketball, literally and figuratively, at 6'10", but did so much for not only the game and for his players, but for coaches.
A strong move by Rayquan Gray. It was announced today he was the player of the week, or the week concluded yesterday in the ACC. He had a 24-point, 12-rebound game Saturday in their come-from-behind overtime win against Wake Forest. Both of those numbers were career highs.
He also had 4 assists and 3 blocks in that game against Wake Forest. And he's one of the most versatile players, not only in the ACC, but in the country. Big, strong. He can guard multiple positions, and he's an excellent passer as well.
Shot clock running out. Jay Huff had to fire the 3, and it rims out. Rebounded by Rayquan Gray. Redshirt junior from Fort Lauderdale.
Well, with that versatility, he can grab the rebound, just rip and go. He doesn't need to make an outlet. He can bring it up and initiate offense himself.
Anthony Polite missed 4 games with a shoulder injury. Returns Saturday. There's a 3 for Rayquan Gray. He remains hot. Double-doubles in 2 of the previous 3 games. Not only that performance against Wake Forest on Saturday, but he had 10 and 11 against Miami on January 27th. As they were paused for 2 weeks due to COVID and just returned to action Saturday in that win against Wake Forest. Virginia off an impressive home win against North Carolina.
And that basket allows Florida State to put full court pressure on. That means they don't have to guard as long in the half court.
And they run out and get the dunk. Malik Osborne.
The only way you're going to speed up Virginia, you're not going to do it by taking quick shots. You're going to do it on the defensive end. And Leonard Hamilton wants to put full court pressure on and then keep that pressure on by switching and really getting into Virginia at the 3-point line once they get across half court.
Jay Huff has it taken away by Anthony Polite. Strong drive by Polite. He could not score with the left.
Had to go with those long arms of Jay Huff.
Injured left shoulder. Sorry, Jay.
Well, Jay Huff is one of the best shot blockers, not just in the ACC, but in the country. He's behind Manny Bates from NC State on the ACC ledger in blocks. But he's one of the best shot blockers you're going to see all season long.
4th all-time in Virginia history with 144. Fadeaway wouldn't go for the freshman Beekman. And a bucket for Scotty Barnes, the freshman who scored the game-tying basket to force overtime with less than a second to go Saturday. They went on to beat the Demon Deacons in the extra session. And a whistle before the 3. It's a Florida State foul. Coming up next, Blue Bloods versus New Bloods. ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by USAA Insurance. Auto, renters, and home insurance. We talked heading to the break about Blue Bloods and New Bloods. Tony Bennett has certainly brought Virginia to among the Blue Bloods of the ACC. Most wins in conference since the start of the 16-17 season. Florida State, number 3. Leonard Hamilton calls his program the New Bloods, with only Duke in between, and Florida State gaining on Duke rapidly. 3-point shot wouldn't go for Trey Murphy. Florida State ball up by 5. The foul right before the break was on MJ Walker. That's the first foul of the game.
Florida State getting some good movement. They're moving the ball from side to side and moving this Virginia defense, and they're getting Jay Huff to have to hedge out and then recover down low.
Tried to feed the post to Tenor and Gom. 7'2" win off Leonard Hamilton's bench. Transfer from Ryerson University in Canada. Foul and a chance for a three-point play. Anthony Polite made the shot, took a hit. Thomas Woldetensai just in off the Virginia bench.
Well, Anthony Polite shooting over 50% from three, just coming off this little screen by Tenor and Gom and kicking his leg out just a little bit. Woldetensai caught him, but Polite has played very well this season. He had 12 points. He had 3 threes against Wake Forest. He's also an excellent guard rebounder. To be able to bring him in off the bench and have that kind of production just shows how deep Florida State is with talent.
12 unanswered points for the Seminoles. Oh, Murphy denied at the rim. Both Sadar Calhoun and Tenor and Gom were there. Barnes too strong with the layup, and it goes out of bounds to FSU.
And that's why you want to chase this Virginia team off the three-point line. You don't want to give Trey Murphy an open shot. Look what he had to do just to try to get a two. Talk about a tough two. And Gom and Calhoun's a big-time athlete. He's got a 40-inch vertical himself.
Becoming more and more of a factor in his first year at Florida State as a junior college transfer. A couple of misses by Barnes, and then in Gom there to put it home for FSU.
I actually saw Tenor and Gom play at Ryerson University in Canada. He played for Roy Rana, and Duke was playing in back when they had Zion Williamson, R.J. Barrett playing exhibition games over there, and had a great opportunity. He had just started playing organized basketball.
Woldetensai rattles home a three for UVA, ending their drought. His first bucket. Calhoun got stopped by Murphy, nearly threw it away. Barnes rescued it. Polite, like Woldetensai, lost his focus there for a minute. Polite just politely turned away from him.
Well, Florida State's done a good job of spreading the floor, and against Virginia, they can take you out of some of your set actions and set plays. So you're going to have to be a playmaker, and Florida State's got a number of guys that can break off and take advantage of a read.
Shot clock running out. Jay Huff. Woldetensai didn't get it off. Shot clock violation.
Well, yet another turnover for Virginia. A team that only averages 9 turnovers on the season already has 4.
When we come back, a look back at some of the memorable moments of this season for the talented freshman, preseason freshman of the year in conference, Scotty Barnes. Florida State leading by 9 as we take a look at tonight's McDonald's All-American Spotlight. We featured Scottie Barnes, number 5 rated player in the country in high school last year by ESPN. Highest rated recruit ever to come to Florida State to play basketball. Averaging 10.5 points per game, and he's had some of the biggest plays of this season. Second game of the year, the ACC Big Ten Challenge. The late bucket that stood up in the final seconds for a 2-point win over Indiana. And then on Saturday, down by 2 in the final seconds. That went in with 0.1 remaining, forced overtime against Wake Forest, and the Noles prevailed in overtime. We've said that a lot. They've won 11 straight overtime games. You don't want to go to overtime against Florida State.
You don't want to go to Tallahassee and play them either. They don't lose in Tallahassee. But Scottie Barnes is unique as a McDonald's All-American because he is so easy to play with. He doesn't need to score to be productive. He averages about 10 points a game, but he rebounds. He's their leading assist guy. You know, he's 5th in the ACC in assists, and he's 2nd in assist turnover ratio. And Leonard Hamilton was telling us last night that he's never played point guard before. Great pass.
And Balsha Koprivica is in the lineup now after sitting out Saturday with an ankle injury. 18-3 run for Florida State.
You know, don't know why Virginia.
Jay mentioned has turned it over uncharacteristically 4 times in the last 7 minutes.
Yeah, Sean, I don't know why Virginia was trying to double Rayquan Gray there, because he was so far off of the low box. You know, they ran a double at him, and he look where he catches it, and the double comes. That's just too far, and that just opens up an easy lane to the basket for Balsha Koprivica, and an easy bucket and a great pass, great recognition by Rayquan Gray. But you cannot double at that spot on the floor. You're just giving up points.
Kihei Clark, Virginia, with just 9 points nearly midway through the half. Casey Morsell, the sophomore, hasn't scored much lately, in off the bench, and he missed a 3. Calhoun traveled, backed into a double team to turn it over.
Yeah, really the story of the game so far for Florida State has been the Seminoles defense. And you mentioned at the top of the broadcast that Florida State is the #1 scoring team in the Atlantic Coast Conference at just under 80 points a game. They make over 8 threes a game, but they're still very good defensively.
Marcel, strong drive, dumped it off, and the layup was missed by Beekman. Jay Walker, he handed it off. Raekwon Evans, backup guard. Not much, if any, talent drop off when Leonard Hamilton goes to the bench. And a reach-in foul on Beekman. That's his first. Well, coming up next on ESPN and the app, women's college basketball. It's a big Pac-12 matchup. 2 of the top 13 teams in the country. Tara Vanderveer, now the all-time leader in wins in women's college basketball, leads Stanford against number 13 Oregon. A couple of the Big 12 games that were taken off the schedule on the men's side for various reasons. One for COVID, one for weather. So a chance to give the women the stage. And what a great opportunity for us to watch a terrific game right after us.
Yeah, Oregon is a very young team. Obviously losing Sabrina Ionescu from last year's team. But Stanford is very good. I've seen them play a few times. And Haley Jones leads the way. She's a good scorer, can rebound, good passer.
Where do you find the time to watch all these things?
What else is there to do? There's basketball and Netflix. That's about it.
Koprivica will be the free throw shooter. Caden Shedrick called for the foul, the redshirt freshman. Number 21 is just kind of getting back into the swing of things after missing 8 games with a non-COVID related illness. There's Shedrick, big body, active. Tony Bennett told us he thinks he has a chance to be very good. And he'll get better, Jay, because that's what players do at Virginia with Tony Bennett and that terrific staff. Jason Williford's been with him for the entire 12-year run for Bennett in Charlottesville. Orlando Vandross, Brad Soderberg.
Well, your point about getting better, I mean, if you look at Shedrick, he's a lot like Jay Huff was as a freshman. And took him a while to develop, and he's become one of the best players in the country. He's going to play a long time in the NBA, and his development has really been spectacular. But he's been patient. It took him a while to become a player that, frankly, is in the conversation for ACC Player of the Year, as is this guy, MJ Walker.
He thought he got fouled. Strong drive on the last possession by Morsell. Kihei Clark, uncharacteristically, raced up and fired up a shot in transition and missed wildly. Florida State has led by at least 10 now in 9 of their 10 ACC games at one time or another. That's a 3 for MJ Walker. He gets 24 points tonight. He'll be the 47th Florida State player ever to reach 1,000 career points.
The benchmark of a great career in college.
What did you have? Exactly 1,000? I think you had 1,003 or 6. Casey Morsell being quite authoritative with those drives to the bucket. Couldn't finish that time. 1,062. There's Walker again, rattling home a 3.
Florida State is dominating this game. What a spectacular cross-court pass for the open 3.
Timeout, Virginia. When we come back, some breaking news, big news in the Atlantic Coast Conference. Started big Monday, and Jay, we mentioned as we went to the big news, and it is huge news. The freshman Jalen Johnson, who missed some time earlier in the year with a foot injury, has decided to opt out of the remainder of the season for Duke, a team that obviously is not even on the bubble right now, and that certainly hurts their chances of getting back into the tournament pick.
Yeah, really surprising news, Sean, that Jalen Johnson opted out of the remainder of the season for Duke. He's coming off a game in which he played only 8 minutes at NC State, and it was a game that Duke played arguably its best game in the last month, essentially without him. And for him to opt out now, optically, it's very odd. But I'll be interested to see what Duke winds up saying about this. I'm sure they'll support the decision, but knowing how basketball works, that's just an odd thing to do at this time of year.
Beekman way off with a 3. You know, we've been around Duke a couple of times this year. You obviously very close to it as an alum, and you'd heard mumblings from time to time that all wasn't great for Johnson within the program. But it is, as you said, surprising. It was announced today. Here's a Virginia foul, and now Huff and Hauser frustrated, having an animated conversation with each other as Tenor and Gom goes to the line.
Yeah, just so we're clear on I hadn't heard that there was any problem. It's just he hadn't been playing well, and certainly hadn't played to his level of capability. But he's had some injury and some lack of continuity throughout the season, so it certainly wasn't easy for him. But even if it was an issue of, hey, I'm not 100%, there's a difference between sort of remaining within the season and not playing due to injury, and just opting out of the whole thing. I mean, for your NBA stock, if you will, that's going to raise a lot of questions from NBA teams that Jalen Johnson and his family are going to have to answer.
You think that's definitely it for him at Duke? I mean, most expected he would be a one and done.
I don't see how you opt out of a season and then come back. That's a trying to think of the right word. It's a drastic step, I would say, to pull the plug on a season as you're headed toward the end of it. There's still a lot of games to be played, plus the ACC tournament.
The tournament that they're probably going to have to win to get into the NCAA tournament. They don't make it be the first time since the mid-90s that Duke is not a part of the field.
Boy, Sean, Florida State's defense has been absolutely spectacular. I mean, you can count on one hand the open opportunities for shots that Virginia has in this game. Jay Huff's had one, Trey Murphy's had one, Hauser's had one, but other than that, it's been a whole lot of nothing for Virginia on the offensive end.
Hauser on the bench right now. On the 10 side, he's a streaky player. Seems to either score in double digits or not at all. He's had a couple of buckets off the bench. 5 points for Wold, the 10 side. Polite's 3 wouldn't go. Huff had the rebound for a moment. It wound up with Morsell. Then he had it batted away, and I think Tony Bennett thought he was fouled. He comes down to holler at Ron Gruber, and there's another 3 for MJ Walker.
You know, I think he was fouled, but there have been a ton of fouls that have gone uncalled in this game, which tends to happen when Virginia plays, that there aren't a lot of fouls called, and there's a lot of physicality.
LaFonso and Kevin here in studio. Reaction to Jalen Johnson opting out, plus a big weekend for Michigan. Right now, we heard Jay talk about Florida State being dominant. Where's Virginia's offense, Fonz?
Yeah, Florida State's defense has been dominant, but Florida State does a great job of helping on dribble penetration. They've got to get behind the basketball to open spots and on the weak side as well. Too much standing by Virginia so early.
The size and length of this Florida State defense is just swallowing up any penetration by Kihei Clark and can get out to shooters. Hey, Jay, I got a question for you. Florida State coming off this pause, like Michigan came off the pause yesterday, does it blow you away they can come off a pause and play at this level?
It does, Seth. I mean, this is the second time we've seen this from Florida State if it continues. I mean, you remember when they came off a pause early in the season, they beat NC State by like 100, shot 60%, and coming back, it was crazy how well they played. But nothing Florida State does surprises me anymore. I think maybe Leonard Hamilton put his team in that fountain of youth that he seems to spend so much time in.
There's Leonard Hamilton. It is hard to believe that the coach is 72 years old.
There's no way, Sean. He sleeps in a hyperbaric chamber. If he's 72 with the way he looks, no way. Crazy.
They are on a roll. Of course, they won the ACC regular season outright last year. And, Jay, I think they had a great chance to win the whole thing. Certainly had an opportunity to be his first Final Four team. And then, of course, COVID wiped out the NCAA tournament, meaning that Virginia won the last NCAA tournament that was played. So I guess they're still the defending national champs.
MJ Walker switched off on Jay Huff, and he's fronting him, just doing a really nice job.
And the 10 side, the miss. And the rebound by Ngom.
Justin McCoy only has one shoe on.
He got it back in, and I believe they fouled a three-point shooter. Will the 10 side out on Wyatt Wilkes. Well, Jay, in this half, Sam Hauser, their leading scorer for Tony Bennett's taking one shot. He has 2 fouls. He's been on the bench for a while.
Well, Florida State's done a really good job of making players other than Hauser, Huff, and Murphy make plays. And you know, I think it's a smart strategy. If Kihei Clark wants to penetrate, make him finish in there. Have a guy 5'9" finishing in the lane over length rather than collapsing on the penetration and letting him kick it out to open shooters that can really drill it.
Wyatt Wilkes doesn't shoot many free throws. Matter of fact, entering the game was 2 for 2 for the year. He's a 3-point shooter almost exclusively. 5th-year senior from Orlando.
Comes from a great basketball family. Glenn Wilkes Sr., his grandfather, was a great coach, Hall of Fame coach at Stetson. His father, Glenn Wilkes, a great basketball coach as well. I've worked with him at Summers, and I've learned a lot from him. Just a fantastic basketball family.
Florida State by 22 as we come up on 2 minutes to go till the Jeep halftime report. Murphy banks at home. He's had a good first half. He's a transfer from Rice. Florida State also has a transfer from Rice in Malik Osborne. They didn't play together there, but they did spend some time together on the recruiting visit. Wyatt Wilkes bangs home a 3. It's a 23-point margin.
Sean, the ball movement from Florida State has been stellar. And that was a spectacular pass fake by Wyatt Wilkes. He had an open teammate in the corner, pass fake, made the defense move, and he didn't even have to dribble to get that standstill jumper off.
There's McCoy, who has not played at all in the last 3 games, but Tony Bennett going a little deeper down the bench with the big deficit here, hoping somebody can provide a spark. McCoy's a sophomore from Cary, North Carolina.
Virginia gives up 58 points a game in 40 minutes. They've given up 45 already to Florida State in this one.
They're 4th in the country in scoring defense, giving up just under those 59 points that Jay mentioned. Only Loyola of Chicago, Houston, and Liberty have allowed fewer points per game. Chuck Walsh.
Excellent job chasing down that loose ball. Look at the ball movement here. Ball goes inside. Koprivica off the roll, kicks it back out. Little shot fake, then a pass fake. And that's just beautiful ball movement off really a broken play off a high screen and roll where Balša Koprivica couldn't corral it, but is smart enough to kick it back out to Gray.
Kihei Clark. McCoy shut off by Koprivica. Murphy's pass deflected out of bounds with 23.8 to go in the half and 13 on the shot clock.
For the most part, Florida State has been not only really alert to the ball, they've been really alert to the three-point shooters that can hurt them, specifically Murphy and Huff.
McCoy, that's a 3 for Justin McCoy, just his 3rd of the season. Final seconds of the half. Evans couldn't get it to go. Murphy, length of the court heave. And what a half for Florida State, one that Tony Bennett would like to forget. Not happy with the officials, but I'm sure he's much more disappointed with the play of his team. Gave up 54 and a half in their loss to Gonzaga, the best offensive team in the country, ranked number 1. Let's send you back to the studio. Here's the halftime report.
Sean, Jay, thank you so much. Jeep Halftime Report. Kevin Nagani in studio alongside Seth Greenberg and LaFonso Ellis. Wow, Florida State. My goodness. Wow. Dominant performance in Fonz. Listen, we can talk a lot of things, especially how this team is creating turnovers and how they're shooting well from the 3. What do you notice from the Seminoles immediately in the first 20 minutes?
The length and athleticism of this Florida State team is completely taking Virginia out of their offense. Virginia has a lot of good shooters, but they don't have guys who can put it on the floor and make plays and finish at the rim. And that's why their offense has really struggled here in the first half.
Okay, there are 2 things here, Seth. If you're Tony Bennett, 1, your team is down by 20. That's a story.
I've had that experience.
But the other one is giving up 45 points with this defense. What are you telling your team heading into the second half?
Look, you're really disappointed. So what do you have to do? You got to start the second half. We want to win the next 4 minutes because the only way you're going to get back in this game is 4 minutes at a time. So what we got to do is get back to our identity. We've got to get stops. To get stops, we've got to take care of the ball offensively. We can't turn it over. And we've got to get good shots because long shots, long rebounds, and then all of a sudden they're out in transition. The other thing is for all the people that are thinking about big picture, the NCAA tournament, look, Virginia's not going to face a bunch of teams that look like this Florida State team. This is an elite defensive team with great depth that can distort passing lanes, get deflections, and dominate you with their athleticism, their length, and their unselfishness. They're extremely unselfish offensively.
So my takeaway is this is more about Florida State and what they're doing rather than what Virginia is doing. And take that with you heading into March. In a season of a ton of surprises, this is a big surprise in mid-February, and that is Jalen Johnson, star recruit. The freshman has decided to opt out the rest of the season on February 15th. In a season where the Blue Devils would like to forget and quickly just turn the page, well, Johnson already leaving, and you talk about the expectations. He averaged just 11.6 rebounds and 2 dimes across 13 games. 8 minutes in the game against NC State, and then a week ago, just 15 minutes against Notre Dame. I'm going to get your thoughts in a moment, Seth, but first off, LaFonso, as a player, what message does this send to everybody around the program?
Yeah, it's a sad message because what happens is all of you become like brothers because of the shared experiences that you've had getting ready for a season, the wins, the losses, the camaraderie. And then all of a sudden you pull the plug. now it brings into question the very essence of the brotherhood, especially at this time of the season. So I'm really disappointed. I understand where he's coming from, but disappointed at the same time. I've said to Seth over and over again, he wasn't really a good fit for this Duke team, and that's why you saw the inconsistency of Jalen Johnson. I just never thought they were able to use him to the fullest of his skill ability.
Not the complete details coming in yet on why he decided to opt out the rest of the way. It feels like they weren't on the same page with Coach K here. We're talking about a lottery talent, right? And then you noticed something a week ago. You pointed it out last week against Notre Dame when you noticed the minutes were down dramatically, and then just 8 minutes against NC State. You were on this ahead of everybody.
Well, the Notre Dame game, the game's basically in question, and he doesn't even get in at the end of the game. Here's the thing. There's a difference between opting out and quitting.
Yeah.
See, if you opt out, you don't clear out your locker. Mm-hmm. You see, if you clear out your locker, basically you're quitting on your team because he's part of a group. You can say, I'm opting out because I don't feel good about myself. I want to kind of look in the mirror and kind of reevaluate myself.
Yeah.
That's one thing, but you keep your stuff in your locker room. If you pick up and move out, there's a big difference there. So basically, he has left his team or he's quit on his team because you're opting out. You're not quitting on your team. You're just saying, you know what, I got to take a step away. Things aren't right.
Yep.
Now, here's the one question. These kids have such unrealistic expectations.
100%.
All right, that when they're not met, all of a sudden, I think there's so much pressure from outside sources and static around these kids that it becomes overwhelming.
And then combine the pandemic, too,
Sure.
and the adversity, what these kids have to deal with day in and day out. Again, we do not know behind the scenes what's going on. The only thing we do know as fact is, of course, Jalen Johnson opting out in a season where Duke is struggling and on the wrong side of any bubble conversation, if that. On the good side of many conversations, how about what Michigan did this weekend, as well as Oklahoma? The guys weighing in on their biggest takeaways after this.
This halftime report is presented by Jeep. There's only one.
Some of the games that stood out over the weekend. Michigan, they returned to action for the first time since January 22nd. And how about this? What they did rallying in that second half against Wisconsin, Seth.
Hunter Dickinson, he was ridiculous. Think about this, 11 points, 15 rebounds, 5 offensive rebounds, 5 blocks. Here's the deal, Kevin. You can have Gonzaga, you can have Baylor and Michigan, all right? And the field has no chance against them. I'm taking Gonzaga, Baylor, and Michigan.
Oklahoma got a key Big 12 road win at West Virginia. It's their 7th win in their last 8 games. Tennessee on the wrong side of a 78-65 defeat at LSU. They were 10-1 at one point. Now just a 500 team over their last 8. In the Big East, Creighton, they shot 59% from the field, and they made 12 threes as they routed Villanova, Fonz.
Well, Marcus Zagorowski was the preseason player of the year in the Big East. He looked like it. 17 points in the first half on his way to a 25-point game.
Zagorowski, tonight's confident player, brought to you by Jeep with 25 points. More after this.
This halftime report is presented by Jeep. There's only one.
Rayquan Gray with 9 of them. The Cavaliers need to turn things around. We'll see that second half coming your way. This has been
the Jeep halftime report.
See matchup coming from Tallahassee, and it has been all Florida State as we look at the Ally first half stats. This is just the 3rd time in Tony Bennett's 12 years as head coach at Virginia that his team has trailed by 20 or more at the half. The first time in an ACC game, and the first time since the game against Tennessee back in 2013. Sean McDonough, Jay Billis. Jay, I billed it as the game of the year in the ACC. It hasn't lived up to that, but boy, Florida State's impressive.
Yeah, Florida State has lived up to that part of it, and the Seminoles did it on both ends of the floor. It was really an overwhelming force performance by Florida State. Their defense was excellent. They forced Virginia to put the ball on the deck. They took away the three-point line, and they forced them to make plays, and they had to do it over length and athleticism and depth. And on the offensive end, I thought Florida State was excellent. I mean, they shot 53% from the field in the first half, over 60% from 3. MJ Walker had 9. Rayquan Gray had 9. Malik Osborne had 7. So they spread the ball around and moved it. It was really a dominant first half performance by Florida State.
Unless they blow this 20-point lead, they'll have their 24th straight conference home win, which would be 2 behind the all-time record held by Duke. Kihei Clark trying to get Virginia started on the comeback trail, hits the floater.
And really, I don't think Florida State, they don't want to see Virginia score at all, but they want to make Kihei Clark finish those plays. And Clark just stopped short and shot a little floater rather than taking it all the way to the rim. But that's just a 2, and it's not an easy shot. So Florida State can live with it.
Malik Osborne trying to go by Jay Huff. Spins to the left and missed. And it winds up in the hands of Kihei Clark, smallest man on the floor at 5'9". He drives to the bucket. A couple of scores for Clark and a nice start for the Cavaliers in the first minute of this half.
Just essentially refused what looked like a drag ball screen, took it all the way to the basket.
A quick timeout called by Florida State. Kihei Clark didn't score at all in the first half. 2 quick hoops here.
Gets into the lane with a nice little floater instead of taking it all the way, and just refuses that high ball screen. You got to force him into the screen or he'll take it all the way.
Coming up as soon as we're finished in Tallahassee, women's college basketball from the Pac-12. Oregon and Stanford. How about Fran Believe? 2 dunks this year for the Cardinals.
2 one-handers. And come on, Sean, we
like
glorify the dunk.
Me.
We're not talking about Kiana Williams having 45 threes or Haley Jones and her 8 rebounds a game. We glorify the dunk.
Yes, we do. That's stealing more than 2. Or are they just playing the same 2 over and over again?
No, those are 2 different ones.
There's Rayquan Gray open for 3. It's out of bounds to Virginia, down by 23 at one point late in the first half. They've chopped it to 16. Florida State has not scored here in the second half. Beekman couldn't finish. Evans, Gray, Osborne, Walker, and Wilkes on the court right now for Florida State. MJ Walker, another 3. He's 4 for 4 from beyond the arc.
Well, MJ Walker, I think, is in prime position to challenge for ACC Player of the Year. Justin Champagnie of Pittsburgh's had a great year. But if you're going by, the best player on the best team, MJ Walker is going to make a claim for that.
Jay Huff didn't get the bounce. This is MJ Walker, averaging just under 14 per game coming in. It's a career high for the senior. Jay Huff, the foul for Virginia. Here are your Player of the Year candidates, Jay.
Yeah, Carly Jones from Louisville having a great year, and then both Sam Hauser and Jay Huff coming into this game having spectacular years. Justin Champagnie's leading the league in both scoring and rebounding and having a great year. But oftentimes the Player of the Year winds up going to, the ACC championship teams. And right now that's between Virginia and Florida State. Florida State having its way with Virginia in this one. But you know that MJ Walker is going to be first team all league. He's had a great year.
Hauser, can they get him going? That might be a start. A 3 for Sam Hauser.
You just can't come off of Sam Hauser on penetration. Scotty Barnes had Kihei Clark. He was not a threat. And make him make it tough too, but you cannot get into no man's land and help off of Sam Hauser or Jay Huff.
Reese Beekman, the rebound, freshman from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Kihei Clark again to the goal, and this time he's fouled by Malik Osborne.
Boy, what a great finish by Kihei Clark, taken to the other side of the bucket with that left hand. And just using the English off the glass and still getting the contact from Osborne. But taking it to the other side of the rim made it more difficult for Osborne to get a piece of that ball.
6 points all here in the half. Osborne's fouled his first. And the first on Florida State in this half. He goes to the bench. Kihei Clark was one of the stars of their win against Florida State in Charlottesville last year. He had 15 points in that game, including the key hoop late, as they beat the Florida State team at the time was ranked number 5 in the country, and had come into JPJ having won 10 in a row. Oh, what an effort by Hauser. He deflected it out off of Rayquan Gray, and a lot more energy in this Virginia team since the half.
Well, they're making plays on the defensive end. Tenorin Gam had rolled to the basket, and a great deflection by Sam Hauser, and then he wound up saving the ball, but it was the deflection that made the play. Good change of pace by Kihei Clark.
Big three in the air, no good. The bench really wanted that. They knew that was a momentum continuer if it went in for Trey Murphy. MJ Walker couldn't shed the pesky Kihei Clark. Remember when we talked to Leonard Hamilton last night, Jay, he talked about Kihei Clark. He said it reminded him of that old song about Leroy Brown. He thinks he's the baddest man in the building, Kihei Clark, and he is a terrific pesky defender. That's a goaltend, and another score for Kihei Clark. I think you're the baddest man on any broadcast in which we're involved, but then again, there are only 2 of us. And speaking of bad, here comes a segment called Illustrator's Best. Stay tuned right after this.
Well, the most popular and most meaningful awards during this awards season, the Oscars, forget it. Who's interested? The Golden Globes, nobody cares. What they care about is the Illustrators Team of the Week, and that is the Michigan Wolverines, coming off a 23-day pause. They were down 14 at Wisconsin, wound up winning the game with a tremendous second half against the Badgers in Madison. And then the player of the week is Marcus Zagorowski of Creighton at 25 points, 5 assists. He was 10 of 18 from the field in just a great performance against Villanova. And then the blue-collar player of the week, we're going to Columbus, Ohio. Justice Suing, the transfer from Cal, playing for the Buckeyes, had 16 points and 10 rebounds. Really went after the offensive glass against Indiana. He also had 12 points, 11 rebounds, 5 assists in a win against Iowa. And he bounced back in a big way against Indiana. He had a goose egg against Maryland in between those 2 games. But he's a terrific glue guy for Chris Holtmann and the Ohio State Buckeyes that are right now a #1 seed for Joe Lunardi in his latest bracket.
Good hands by Kihei Clark. He has ignited this rally by Virginia, down by 20 at the half. They gave up 45 points in the first half, most they've given up in a first half since 2013. And they are on the move and about to make it a game, it feels like, 5 minutes into the second half, led by their leader, Kihei Clark.
And Clark has really been penetrating into the lane off the dribble, and he's making that defense collapse. But Florida State really doesn't need to do that. If he winds up making shots over that length, then you applaud that. But it's only a 2. What you can't do is foul him. And you certainly can't come off 3-point shooters and let him get into the lane where he can search and find those shooters so they get step-in threes. That's where Florida State can really get in some trouble on the defensive end.
Two more for Kihei Clark. It's a 9-0 run. Florida State's gone more than 3 minutes without scoring. 3:23 and counting. Kihei Clark, 10 points, all in the first 5 minutes of the second half.
Reminds you a little bit of the performance he put on at Georgia Tech, where he had 14 points, all of them in the second half, and wound up making the game a game winner, I believe.
Yeah, they rallied from behind in that one. Jay Huff, the block shot, and went out of bounds. Last touch by Florida State. Into the shot block numbers, 144 in his career for Jay Huff, 4th all-time at UVA. Got away with that. And winds up with Murphy, and he buries a three.
That's the issue, Sean. You cannot leave Trey Murphy, Sam Hauser, or Jay Huff. Everybody else you can help, but you cannot help off those three guys.
12-0 run, 10 points for Murphy. He's tied with Clark now for game-high honors. Nobody for Florida State in double digits yet. Feels like a big possession for the Noles, and they get a three. From Calhoun, Sadar Calhoun. Huge shot from right in front of his bench.
And that was made by Scotty Barnes and his penetration. And Barnes, such a good passer. Gets into the lane, draws two defenders, and Trey Murphy was coming in to rotate down on Tenor and Gom. Wound up leaving Calhoun open. That's a difficult pass, but Barnes made it with that length and feel that he has.
You mentioned it earlier. Here's Kihei Clark on fire. Makes one from the elbow. You know, Leonard Hamilton talked about it. You know, most guys who come into college basketball and play point guard have been a point guard since they first started playing the game. Scottie Barnes was a power forward in high school last year. They think his future in the NBA would be as a point guard. He's done a very nice job. More than 2 assists for every turnover. And he powered his way to the bucket. 6'9", 227 pounds out of West Palm Beach.
And long strides. When he takes those long strides, he can get all the way to the basket. And he keeps his eyes on the rim. He made a similar play to make the game winners on the left side of the floor, but the game winner against Indiana earlier this season in overtime. And you know, he had 13 points, 4 assists, 4 rebounds against Wake Forest to go with a couple of steals. But he really competes without having to take a bunch of shots to be happy. He will do everything on the floor. He defends, rebounds, outlets. He does whatever's required.
Not a good free throw shooter, 53% for the year, and he missed that one. Clark had it blocked by Koprivica at 7'1", 240 pounds from Serbia.
And that's why you want to make Kihei Clark finish near the rim. You know, if he's allowed to pull up or, you know, take that little floater, he's much better at that. You make him finish near the rim. That's when he looks 5'9" a little bit more.
Big size advantage for Gray on Clark, but he pulled it back out. There's Rayquan Evans way off, kept alive by Koprivica. And a foul. It was saved by Gray. Too polite, and then a Virginia foul.
Big time play by Rayquan Gray to make that save, and wound up getting a foul out of it to maintain possession for Florida State. Not going to show up in a box score, but Rayquan Gray scratches in just about every category of that box score. Assists, offensive rebounds. He's the leading rebounder for this Florida State team. There's not a thing on that court that he's not proficient at.
Strong move to the bucket. 6'8", 260 is Rayquan Gray, and the lead back to 12.
Sean, he looked like Earl Campbell going into a linebacker on that. I know it's going back a ways, but Earl, remember how Earl Campbell used to just run people over?
Casey Morcell, out it goes to Hauser, short with a three. Nobody there for Virginia on the offensive glass. And it was pulled down by Rayquan Gray. Calhoun, another three. And all that work by Virginia to get close. And now Florida State with 7 unanswered to push the lead back up to 15.
Boy, it's remarkable that Florida State can just put their foot on the gas at times, and they do it defensively with their deflections. But what a pass by Scottie Barnes along the baseline to get it to Sadar Calhoun. A little baseline drive, baseline drift, but basically jumped out of bounds. But look at this. I mean, this is like getting hit by a truck and being bounced back. Still finished the play through that contact, and a great pass. Jumping out of bounds, Sadar Calhoun ready to shoot as the ball arrived. Held that follow through, and Florida State stretches it out. time.
Champ Week is coming. The ACC tournament will be in Greensboro. Here's a look at ACC bracketology from Joe Lunardi. Virginia 2 seed right now. Florida State a 5. I think they're better than a 5 seed, but that's what their resume warrants right now. In all, he has 6 ACC teams in the field. Barnes in transition, a 3. Virginia got within 7 after the round by 23 in the first half. Now it's back to 17.
Well, Scotty Barnes has worked on that 3-point shot. His mechanics are getting better and better. He adds that to his arsenal. Forget it.
He made only 8 threes all year prior to tonight. Hauser a miss. Offensive rebound by Murphy on the long carom. Kihei Clark's pass deflected by Barnes and taken away by Gray. The score here, they can have the same lead they had at the half, +1. MJ Walker has 15 points.
This Florida State team, Sean, so explosive with their athleticism, the way the grit that they have and the togetherness defensively, and then they can really shoot it. And there are a number of players that can. I mean, this is a team that shoots just under 40% on the season from 3-point range. Scottie Barnes knocking it down. If he starts knocking that shot down, forget it. And then a great pass to MJ Walker. Calhoun finding him in the corner. Great job of running the floor deep in the corner to flatten out that defense. And you know, you get those corner threes, it's lights out right now for Florida State. It really has been all game long, aside from a short hiatus they took at the start of the second half.
Thomas rolled a 10 side, gave them some offense in the first half. Is in off the bench.
So Dar Calhoun, who picked up that foul, is an interesting player. So Dar Calhoun was a junior college player and went to a Virginia game where Florida State was playing. His high school team was a guest of Virginia, and he wound up getting his picture taken after the game with Dwayne Bacon, who had just a phenomenal game. And because of that, or not because of that, but it ironically later on he winds up going to Florida State, but really fell in love with Florida State by going to a Virginia game and really enjoyed sort of Dwayne Bacon, his play, and now he's a Seminole and he's having a terrific season. Has played very well over his last 4 or 5 games. He had a goose egg against Wake Forest, did not score in that one, but his 3 prior games he'd averaged 10 points a game over those 3 games.
Roll the 10 side, threw it away. Uncharacteristic turnovers. They entered tonight averaging 9.3 turnovers per game. 3rd fewest in the country. Only Villanova and Wisconsin with fewer turnovers per game. The Virginia foul gives us a chance to remind you about Super Tuesday. It's tomorrow night. Michigan State and Purdue. Live on ESPN and the app. Super Tuesday is presented by Progressive. Hard to believe what's happened to Michigan State, isn't it? We saw them win at Duke early in the year. Looked like they were on their way.
Yeah, they were top 10 back then when they won in Cameron Indoor Stadium, but you know, for a variety of reasons, this has been a really brutal and difficult year for Michigan State. But Balsha Koprivica, everybody in on the act now, and he's showing, Sean, just the tremendous not only ability but potential he's got going forward. He's got a chance to be a great player.
Warning for interfering with the ball, we are told. Apparently one of the Florida State players touched it after it went through the hoop. They bring pressure now up by 22. Hauser. But we've seen some Virginia games this year, Jay, where he's open time and time again. I think back to the big Monday game against Syracuse when he made 7 threes. But he can't get free from this Florida State defense tonight.
No, he can't get free, and every shot he's taken has been challenged. There's been an athletic, lengthy hand up on every shot he's taken. And Florida State's taken Sam Hauser out of the game. He's only got 6 points. And they've taken Jay Huff completely out of this one. I mean, Huff has been, on the offensive end, a non-factor.
These 2 points, it was on an alley-oop dunk, and there's a 3. Koprivica steps out. He hadn't taken a 3 all year. That's his first attempt, and he made it. They've scored 17 straight points.
And it's been a long time against Virginia, Sean, since Florida State has cracked 60. Balsha Koprivica has really worked on his game. He's just getting better and better. He's taken a big jump in his effort, in his technique. And, you know, his coaches have been saying, you know, he's going to be a stretch 5. He's going to be a stretch 5. And I think he showed right there. He is a stretch 5.
Improvement in the numbers. Of course, a little more playing time than he had last year on that talented team. 2 players drafted in the top 11 picks in the NBA draft. Largest lead of the night now. Amazing how quickly it went from a rout to Virginia made a game of it to a rout again. 7.5 to go in Tallahassee. Wolde Tensai makes a 3.
You mentioned, Sean, that Wolde Tensai is from Italy and wound up going to Indian Hills Community College, which is in Iowa. The Tuscany to Iowa transition is not particularly easy.
You played in Italy, did you not?
I did.
Pro career. Koprivica showing he can drive as well, and you can tell he's popular among his teammates. It's one of the great features of this program under Leonard Hamilton. They all play and they all pull for each other. Very unselfish, hard-working team in Tallahassee. Time for tonight's Capital One rewarding performance.
Well, it's been the three-point shooting of this Florida State team. Florida State 11 of 19 from three-point range against Virginia. That's 58%. Just a stunning performance, and MJ Walker leading the way. He's 5 for 6 from 3. He's got 15 points. Sidar Calhoun is 2 of 2. Heck, Balsa Koprivica has gotten into the act as well, knocking one down at over 7 feet tall.
Just to match their season high in threes. Calhoun a miss. Virginia ball down by 22. They're in first place. They will be tied with Florida State in the loss column. It'll be 8-2 for Florida State, 11-2 for Virginia. And it's interesting, Jay, because I talked with Paul Brazo from the ACC, who does a great job helping to run the basketball operation in this conference. And, you know, about our team's going to make up games. Are we likely to wind up with the significant disparity in the number of conference games teams have played, all of it, of course, due to COVID. And, you know, he just made the point. It's very hard to make up games with as many as they're already playing. There's a bucket for Hauser. They're going to try to make up some. Right now, 84% of the conference games that were scheduled have been played. And they're hoping to get to the finish line no more. But some teams want more action. North Carolina today tweeted out, we're looking for a home game this week. And from what we're told by Eric Mosley, our producer, but they're in Tallahassee with our director, Doug Holmes, and our terrific crew. Northeastern said yes, Bill Cohn's fine Husky team. So maybe that's how they'll schedule games from now on.
It's so interesting, all the different scenarios that have come up. with regard to COVID and scheduling and teams finding games. Heck, when North Carolina and Notre Dame played, I mean, I think they had 48 hours notice to put that game on when they decided to. They said, let's go ahead and play. And Notre Dame went down to Chapel Hill, and that was a game when Day'Ron Sharp had 25 points in that ball game, and North Carolina wound up with a win. But you'd have to think, Sean,
State's had 5 games come off the schedule because of COVID pauses, and we're told that in both instances it was a false positive test that triggered the stoppage. There's another dunk for Huff off the feed by Clark. But it's hard to do. You know, it's hard to make up these games. They're already playing a lot of times in the ACC. Teams will play Saturday, Wednesday, Saturday. So, you know, that's 3 and 4 days, or 3 and 8 days. If you add a fourth, that's a lot of basketball. You got to figure out, can they do it logistically?
Well, and then does it make any sense for your team as well? But there aren't a lot, as you're saying, there aren't a lot of open dates. But unless it's a game that's really going to help you if you're an NCAA qualified team, why would you play it? And put your players at risk to reschedule a game if you're going to play, you know, a team from maybe the bottom of the league. If you're Florida State, why would you do that and take that risk when there's not much reward for you?
Well, I guess the other point would be, you know, if you're playing to win the regular season conference as well. Now, of course, the league champion is considered to be the team that wins the conference tournament. But winning the ACC regular season is meaningful. They've done it 3 times outright under Tony Bennett, has Virginia. Of course, Florida State did it last year. They were given the trophy when the NCAA tournament was called off. Kihei Clark back at the line. Under 5 minutes to go. And speaking of the ACC, as always, a lot of great action coming your way Saturday. Virginia Tech, number 18 in the country, will be right there in Tallahassee, trying to end what will be a 24-game winning streak in conference play at home for the Noles. And then Notre Dame, they've made a little bit of a move lately, taking on Syracuse, jockeying for position in the middle of the pack, hoping they can make a late run here and get in to the NCAA tournament field.
Both of these teams are going to be difficult to play against in the NCAA tournament. Virginia, because of their not just how good they are very good, but their style is so difficult to play against in a tournament setting. And Florida State has so many athletes. They can up-tempo you. They can press. They can switch every screen. They've got so many versatile defenders, and their depth of athleticism is what's so difficult to deal with. So they can not only shut you off on the defensive end, they can really score on the offensive end as well and have a lot of different weapons. So they're going to be a very difficult team to contend with in the NCAA bubble event.
Saw Stan Jones, their associate head coach, offering information to Calhoun, one of the great assistants in college basketball. He's been with Leonard a long time. Charlton Young, Steve Smith, the other assistants. This has become one of the premier basketball programs in the country. Under Leonard Hamilton, a nominee for the Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame. His 33rd season as a head coach in college basketball.
Well, what's amazing really about Leonard Hamilton and his program is how patient his players seem to be in their development. That they are willing to play as hard as they can for as long as they can. They know they're going to come out and go back in. So they may play fewer minutes at Florida State than they might play somewhere else, but they're going to be more productive if they play the way Leonard Hamilton wants them to play. They're going to be more productive in those minutes than they would be otherwise. And you see with a player like MJ Walker that was a McDonald's All-American, he was willing to wait and develop, and look what he's doing now. It's remarkable.
For a while, they really couldn't get the top recruits. You know, Leonard used to say, well, we don't get the guys who Duke and North Carolina get. We have to develop. But they are getting top recruits now. We mentioned earlier Scottie Barnes was the #5 player in high school in the country last year. But he's straight up with even those top recruits. Hey, if you come here, you want to play 36 minutes and take all the shots, this isn't going to be the place for you.
And heck, he had Patrick Williams last year who didn't even start, and he was the 4th pick in the draft. Devin Vassell, you had Terrence Mann, Jonathan Isaac, Wayne Bacon, all those guys have been drafted in the last, I think, 4 years. And they develop at Florida State as they do at Virginia, but it's sort of different type of recruiting.
16-point game, 2:37 to go, and it's a timeout. And the power and strength of Rayquan Gray on display. Another good night for him.
Women's side featuring Haley Jones and Stanford on the road at Oregon. That game just 16 minutes away from tip after our game wraps up in Tallahassee. Back to Sean and Jay.
All right, Kevin, thank you. 2:37 to go here. And Florida State in control, up by 16. MJ Walker, 17 points, 5 out of 6 from three-point range. He's also had 6 rebounds. He's now 7 points away from 1,000 for his career. Polite wide open. He makes a 3. His first of the night. They're 12th as a team.
Well, it's just beautiful. Scotty Barnes got trapped, but with that length and athleticism, able to basically see over. But it's not just that. He's got such a good feel for the game and a good understanding of the game. And knew that was basically a hockey assist, getting out of that double team, and then the pass that wound up going to Polite. He's directing traffic, gets the double, and then gets it over to Rayquan Gray. I mean, you would love to see hockey assists given in this game, because Scottie Barnes knew exactly what he was doing there. And you could tell from the fact that he was directing traffic when that double team came his way. He knew where everyone was on the floor.
Jay Huff, the foul for Virginia, puts the Cavaliers over the limit. So it's a 1-and-1 for Rayquan Gray. For 2 very good free throw shooting teams. Virginia is the best in the conference at 80%, which would be the single season mark. Florida State is 73.4%. Some of the starters coming out of the game now for Tony Bennett. And MJ Walker goes out to a big hand on the 2,800 or so there in Tallahassee. Have a great chance to reach the 1,000 career mark in their next game, which is Saturday at noon against Virginia Tech. NBA time. Doubleheader on ESPN and the app Wednesday. Rockets are in Philly, take on the Sixers, then the Jimmy Butler and the Heat taking on the Warriors. What a year Stephen Curry is having. Coverage starts with Stephen A's pregame Sports Center at 7 o'clock.
Well, Sean, Rayquan Gray going out of the ball game. He not only had a terrific ball game in this one, I think he's Florida State's best all-around player, best overall player.
Really?
Because he plays both ends of the floor. He's so skilled. He's an outstanding defensive rebounder. He gets rebounds, steals. He can guard anybody. And then he's an excellent offensive player as well. So overall, I would say he's the best player. I mean, the best scorer is MJ Walker without question. But Gray does so many things and is so valuable to this team that as the two-way player, I think he's the best Seminole.
Another guy who could be a candidate for most improved in the ACC. Morcell, the free throw shooter. And Jay, while we have a moment, we should mention there was other big news off the court today in the ACC. Boston College announced that it had relieved Jim Christian of his duties as head coach in his 7th season. I think it was a big surprise that he was let go. There's been a lot of talk about that would come at the end of the year, but it did seem a bit strange to many that it happened during the year. But good luck to Jim Christian, one of the really good guys in college basketball and very well respected within this conference as both a coach and a person. Tony Bennett effusive in his praise for Jim Christian in our conversation today.
Yeah, they don't make him better than Jim Christian. And look, we're not going to argue the record or whether he should have been retained, but firing someone at this time of the year, I don't agree with it. And so when people want to talk about college sports are different, no, they're not. This is pro sports, and that's one more piece of evidence that makes that conclusion.
We'll also announce that Winston Tabbs, fine player, will miss the rest of the year for a violation of their COVID-19 protocols. So the search will begin for a new coach at Boston College. We reached out to Pat Crack, the athletic director, today for comment. He didn't want to speak publicly, but speaking with Jason Baum, the fine sports information director, said they're committed. As this always happens for the next coach, right? They're committed to putting the resources into basketball to try to make it more competitive. Their facilities lag way behind the rest of the ACC. There's already been some speculation about who might get that job. To me, some intriguing candidates. There are a lot of them out there, and there's a great article by Jeff Borzello on ESPN.com if you want to read about it. There's some big names out there like John Beilein, whose names have been mentioned. But Howard Isley, former player at Boston College, has been an assistant in the NBA and is now at Michigan, part of their big success. Mark Schmidt, who played at BC. You talk about doing a terrific job, Jay, in a very difficult job, but he's done a fantastic job at St. Bonaventure.
Yeah, Mark Schmidt is an outstanding coach. I actually played against Mark in college when he played for Gary Williams at Boston College in the mid-'80s. Well, you like
and a fun guy to be around, we might add.
Oh, he's a great guy.
Yes.
But you enjoy seeing the players from Florida State, the green team, get into the ball game here because they've been such great leaders for Leonard Hamilton and his team. They've taken a lot of the younger players under their wing, even though they don't play a lot of minutes. They've been very influential in leadership roles, whether it's Justin Lindner or Harrison Prieto. They've done such a great job with this team.
There's a three from Nathaniel Jack. Leonard Hamilton has gone to the end of the bench. 33 is Will Miles. 12 is Justin Lindner, Jay just mentioned. 15, Quincy Ballard. Number 20 is Travis Light.
Yeah, Nathaniel Jack that knocked down that three. That's his 12th three of the year. He's from Mississauga, Ontario, where R.J. Barrett is from. And a great real pro that I've worked with, Dan Schulman, took me to an outstanding restaurant in Mississauga. Just fantastic. I think it was called Subway.
A real pro. I think I'm sitting in Dan Schulman's chair here today in our Charlotte studios. This is kind of bizarre. Quincy Ballard misses. This is the first game I've done off a monitor from another place. It's better to be there. That's even more important to be safe in this day and age, I guess. Well, not I guess, it is more important.
Well, it is much better to be there. The only positive, if not, is you couldn't stick me with the check.
Final 8 seconds. Florida State, 24 consecutive conference home wins. 76-4 overall in their last 80 at the Tucker Center. And they have a chance, as Leonard Hamilton's team, to set the all-time record before the season is over. They have 2 more home games scheduled against Virginia Tech and Boston College. 81-60 is the final. We talked to Tony Bennett this morning. Jason, we'll learn a lot about our team tonight, and they have work to do. Yes, they do.
Hopefully we won't have to play Florida State much more.
I shouldn't have asked you a question over 20 seconds off the air because you can't say your name in 20 seconds. So we'll move on and get ready for some outstanding women's basketball. For Jay Billis and our terrific crew, Sean McDonough saying good night. More Big Monday still to come.